afternoon. I hope the afternoon or after lunch dip is now in the space where we are waking up a little bit. And thanks to the previous speakers, to Carolyn and Brian, well, it's up to me to continue. Now, a lot of things that have been said today, I see them a little bit as a kind of an introduction. On the other hand, I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on several issues that have been mentioned by previous speakers. In particular, Mr. Sang, who is not here at this moment. Mr. Sang was the second speaker today. He gave a very vivid account of his personal experience of organizational change and also cultural change. And I found that personally very, very inspirational. Now, my name is Luc Hopstaken. I have been in Vietnam for over 8 years. I'm a business consultant, I'm a trainer, I'm a mentor to a few Vietnamese CEOs, and I have a lot of fun here in Vietnam. I found Vietnam most challenging but also fun environment to live and work. The reason I'm here is because I have learned to love Vietnam. Okay, so Mr. Quan, thank you for inviting me. Where is Mr. Quan? Wow. He asked me to say something about organizational culture, so I prepared a brief talk about that. As you know, as mentioned before, we live in an age of free trade agreements. Vietnam is very eager to play that game. If you look around at the internet, newspapers, everybody is talking about free trade agreements. You cannot deny it, you cannot escape it. But most of these articles, they focus on the commercial and the legal implications of those trade agreements as the most important parts. I try to do something different this afternoon. My purpose this afternoon is to focus on the consequences of these free trade agreements on human resources. And as you have heard from Mr. Sang and others this morning and this afternoon, in the end, change is made by the people who have to do the change. You have to have the full collaboration, the belief of the people in the organization if you want your change to be successful. Brian already mentioned it, others mentioned it. We have ASEAN, we have the EU-Vietnam trade agreement, which was finalized last year, which is now becoming, you could say, more and more, having more impact on our relationship. And we have TPP, which is not yet ratified. We wait and see what happens. But if it happens, it will have another deep impact on Vietnamese business. So, what is that impact? More and more Vietnamese entrepreneurs, they become aware of that impact. Not only the business side, not only the legal side, there's also other aspects. I would only have to mention transparency as an issue, which is very, very important in Vietnam, as something more than what we have, price wars, the competition. Many Vietnamese entrepreneurs expect court cases. There's a lot of talk about, if we make mistakes, then we have foreign law firms attacking us as Vietnamese companies. I've heard some stories from Vietnamese CEOs who are really afraid. They are deeply, deeply worried about the legal consequences. So they've become, the people I have met over these past couple of months, quite defensive. Their issue, and only the people I have met over these past few months, they explained to me, or they asked me, how can I protect my business against all those free trade agreements? Because I'm not really ready for it. I'm not really ready for change. And they asked me for advice. I said, well, you better get ready. It's high time. It's 2 minutes to 12, 1 minute to 12. You have to get ready. You have to prepare yourself for what's coming next. Now, we cannot cover the whole thing because there's so many things in those trade agreements. I'll limit myself to the field that I am more expert in, which is human resource management. So let's take a look at that aspect. Now, this is a quote from a colleague of mine who was responding to the free trade agreement. He says, Vietnamese workers prefer to work at a foreign company which pays better, pays on time, offers more career path. This means you will need to reorganize your company to attract and keep your best workers. And here comes the Price sentence. He says, this means you will need to adopt foreign HR best practices at your company. Yeah? And I fully agree with Søren. Yeah? There's a lot of things, and yes, of course, we have Vietnamese culture. I've been here for 8 years, and I respect Vietnamese culture. However, there's a few elements in Vietnamese culture that we have to look into the mirror and say, these might inhibit, these might make things difficult for Vietnamese business. Yeah? We must not make Vietnamese culture holy and untouchable. You must be able to, or willing at least, to address certain aspects of Vietnamese culture. So, let's look at the people side. 3 areas, very briefly, more in depth. I would need a few more hours, but I only have 20 more minutes. First, human resource management. I believe there is an urgent need to develop HR in Vietnam through strategic human resource management. There's a whole way to go. Second area is organizational culture. Yeah? The spirit of change needs to be established. Carolyn talked about sense. I'd like to expand the word sense with sense of urgency. Sense of urgency means I feel the need for change. Something must be done. We can no longer wait. And the third area is internal communication. This is where we have a little clash, a little problem with Vietnamese culture. Okay, first, strategic human resource management. As we know, as most of you will be aware, in Vietnam, Vietnamese companies, most HR departments are pretty low in the organizational structure, and they are only busy with recruitment, compensation benefits, and paperwork. And some do a little bit of advice in training. That is HR Vietnam. Very, very limited. There's no active role in Vietnam for HR where we talk about capacity planning, talent, career management, which is really future-oriented activities. There's no or very little employee engagement besides going to the beach for a few days, and we call that team building. Is that right? We call that. So, retaining talent, how do we do that? Yeah. If you ask in many Vietnamese companies, they don't know. They have no idea. They're very short-term in terms of vision. There's no organizational development. Many Vietnamese companies I have seen and I have serviced over the past couple of years, they still have what I would call a military organizational structure. It looks like a little army with a general, with officers, and the whole internal culture is, I tell you what to do, and you better listen to me, otherwise you're out. Of course, this is a very traditional Vietnamese company. Fortunately, some younger generations in Vietnam are slowly taking over. And they are adopting different organizational cultures and also start developing different organizational structures. Some companies in Vietnam, and I'm fortunate to know a couple of them, they are expanding their HR efforts. So, let's take a very brief look at HR in Vietnam. Recruitment, yes, they're very active in recruitment. Sometimes I think HR in Vietnam is a recruitment department. They try to do a performance appraisal, but it's what I call very rudimentary. they copy and paste from the internet, and they use instruments which are not fit for performance appraisal. I mean, for a personal performance appraisal. They use business balanced scorecard for performance appraisal, which is completely out of the question. That's used for business performance, not for individual performance. Many examples here. Hard and soft skills training. To some extent they do this, but they have a list or a short list of training companies that they will choose from, and that's basically it. And very often the talk is not about the content of the training, but about price of the training. Quantity over quality. Organization-related duties. Of course, money. The term compensation and benefits, by the way, is another example of copy and paste from the United States. In no other country they use that term, and we call about different terms. Is that right, Brian? Help desk and information. Yes, HR departments in Vietnam do that quite actively. And they do the paperwork, obviously. And to some extent, sometimes you see there's HR policy being developed in HR departments. So, in these 26 years that HR departments have been growing and developing in Vietnam, I see what I call arrested development. There's no further, or very little, further development. I'm in touch with the VN HR community in Vietnam, and members of that community, they are very aware that something must be done. They're very willing to expand their profession. Okay. You may have seen this last year. Vietnam Works was published the first 4 reasons why Vietnamese quit their job. Number 1, no career perspective, 57%. The second, no recognition. And remember what one of the previous speakers said about recognition. It's so important. Without recognition, people feel unrecognized. They feel sad about that. They feel like, what the hell am I doing? Work has no meaning. To phrase another word that has been used before. I'm indispensable. People hate to be indispensable. Low salary, obviously, and last but not least, a bad boss. You know the expression. People don't leave their job; they leave their manager. It's very true in Vietnam, I tell you. Okay, and they say, I quit. And I hear these stories quite often. In 8 years' time, when you're working with many young Vietnamese, when you're living with Vietnamese family, you have hundreds of stories to fall back on. But there's some change here. We have a new generation of young Vietnamese who are looking at different role models, different examples in the world, who are very interested in what is going on outside Vietnam. They love their country. They're patriotic. There's nothing wrong with that. They love Vietnam, but at the same time they see, how can I learn from other best practices around the world? So, HR issues, those are questions for everybody here. How will you address the future capacity planning? How will you address recruiting talent, not just recruiting staff? No, talent. How do you find them? And of course, how do you keep them? Asian is, you could say, offering a possibility to get talent from other Asian countries. Not much is happening there, but something else is happening. Other Asian countries are very interested in Vietnamese talent. So before you know it, you can have a situation where we have a brain drain from Vietnamese talent going to other countries, like Singapore, like Malaysia, like Philippines, like Indonesia. And young Vietnamese, single Vietnamese say, wow, the world is open for me at last. And they will be encouraged by their family and say, yes, grab that opportunity. So we have to be aware that this is happening. Many multinational companies, especially those who are part of the EU, VM, Free Trade Agreement, the TPP, if that happens, there will be another element to the war for Vietnamese talent. Yeah, they will say, okay, we pay them a little bit more. Yeah, and now we are competing on the labor market. So what is full HR? Full HR is strategic HR. So, already went through these things a little bit. Top management in Vietnam is often not really aware of what is going on, what can be expected. Yeah? And it means that they're unable to anticipate. Many MNCs at this moment, especially the non-Asian MNCs, they are way ahead of them. They already went through the whole process of developing strategic HR. So my really serious advice to Vietnamese companies is really look at this issue, because you will be behind and you will have a big problem in competition. By the way, full HR has 35 fields. I'm not joking. 35 fields, not the 3 that we have just seen. Yeah? So we have to uplift Vietnamese HR. Yeah? And I'll go through the next slide very quickly, but it shows some examples of what HR has in store. Now we have onboarding, employee engagement, learning development, you can see them all by yourself, talent management, outsourcing, coaching and mentoring, mediation, which is conflict resolution, diversity and inclusion, gender equality, things like that. The organizational side, we have strategy, capacity planning, the employee handbook, etc., etc. Change management is an HR issue. Of course, HR is not doing that alone, but HR is the supporting, you could say, facilitator for change management in a company. So they should know about change management. Job evaluation, safety engineering, etc. Those are just examples of what HR can do or should do. So, complacency. We haven't heard the word before, but when we talk about change, complacency is a key word to understand. Yeah? You see exactly what is going on here. Yeah? I don't have to explain this. This picture tells 1,000 words, right? So, it is in that track. And I don't want Vietnamese companies to be like this. Yeah, because one day the train will be coming and you will be blasted. Okay, number 2. Many people working in the HR field, and many leaders, they say, well, we have come a long way. We are doing fine. So far, so good. Let's wait and see. And I tell you, I hear these things said by Vietnamese leaders. They say, well, we have come a long way since 1990. Yeah? Wow, we should be proud of ourselves that we have come such a long way. They say, yes, absolutely right. Yeah, you did a fantastic job by building up Vietnamese business these past 25 years. But don't sit back and think that you're there. The most difficult part is yet to come. And which will mean you will have to globalize, you will have to be aware that collaboration across the planet is a real challenge. So, complacency is, you could say, I would say it's the biggest threat. Thinking that everything will be fine. It will not, if you don't do anything. Okay. So, one little question to you when I show this. Anybody has any idea what this means? Is there anything that is jumping to your mind? What is it? Anyone? What catches your eye right away?
Customers are on top.
Customers are on top. You see that? This is one of those things. I'm not saying that this is the ultimate truth. It is just a different approach of looking at an organization. Yeah? The usual organization, we have the leader, and we have the army, and there's no customer inside. You understand?
All right.
Customers have been chased away, something like that. So this is an organizational idea saying, number one is customers. And we have people who serve the customers. And what is the role of the leader? He is the person who is facilitating, supporting the organization. You may have heard about servant leadership, for example, which is one of those brilliant ideas, yeah, which could be so useful for leaders in Vietnam. Okay. Now, change. People like change. You like change. I like change. And we go on holidays and we love change. Why do we go on holidays and love change? Because it's our choice. Yeah? So people like change, they just don't like to be changed.
Ah, good.
You understand? You don't like to be pushed. Yeah? And it has been said before today, yeah, resistance. How can you avoid resistance? It's not so easy. There's a whole technology for change management. Actually, there are several technologies. So, two types of change. We have the traditional Asian change management. I've asked CEOs in Vietnam, how do you do change in the past? He said, well, just tell them what to do. Yeah, or else. Yeah, there's the door. Yeah, that's the traditional Asian way of change. Change or else. The second way is what I call the 21st century way of business change. It's collective, but also inclusive change. Inclusive means involving staff, involving customers, involving suppliers, involving all the stakeholders that matter in a clever way, in a smooth way, in a smart way. Yeah? So you can actually make it happen. Okay. So, the thing is, if you don't involve people, that's the golden rule. If you don't involve people, they will resist. And in terms of staff, if they can't, they will leave. Yeah? And as I said, I'm living in a Vietnamese family. I know the careers of many. I know the talks at dinner table, yeah, about jobs, about when they're happy with their job, when they're unhappy with their job. I know the reasoning going on. So, resistance, I'm from Holland, from Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a very direct city. If somebody doesn't like you, he will say, I don't like you. You say, okay, thank you for telling, let's have another beer. We are used to being direct. Yeah, we love it. It's very easy because you know exactly what people are thinking about you and you can do the same to them. Not in Vietnam, of course. Australia, well, you've seen Brian. Yeah? Brian is one of the most direct people here in Vietnam. USA depends a little bit, but overall, yeah, Americans will be very fast in telling you what they think. Asia, Eastern Asia especially, is different. Staff will say yes, and they do no. Yeah? They say yes because they don't want the boss to lose face. But they make them lose face anyway because they do no. Something I still try to understand. There's a lot of sabotage of change going on in Vietnam. And leaders think, oh, everybody is following me. And they say, hey, where are they? Where are they? They wake up. Yeah. New generations of Vietnamese, younger Vietnamese, I would say born after 1990. Those are the Vietnamese millennials. Don't confuse them with Generation Y. No, Generation Y is born after 1980, that's USA, Australia, and Europe. Vietnamese millennials, 9X they are called in Vietnam. They are different. Yeah? They are almost a threat to Vietnamese culture as well. Yeah? You can see me afterwards if you have any questions about that. Okay, just a referral, John D. Cotter, if you remember him, the man wrote a fantastic book 20 years ago called Leading Change. And Mr. Sang, when he was telling his story about the merger, he was telling all kinds of things, and I was thinking, wow, this perfectly fits into, you could say, the easy formula defined by Mr. Kotter. Sense of urgency, number one, to establish the need for change. And when you have established the need for change, you need a small group who's leading the way. We call that guiding coalition. And they are the ones who develop vision and strategy. They will head for the future, and they will make a nice picture of that future. And then they will communicate it widely, not only inside the company, also to the stakeholders of the company outside. There's more to Kotter, but then again, read the book or see me afterwards. Internal communication. Just a nice little thing. Why did you leave your last job? Well, the company relocated and didn't tell me anywhere. Didn't tell me where to go. Anyway, this may be a joke, but it is a little bit illustrative also for internal communication in Vietnamese companies. Because staff often has no idea what top management is talking about. Top management in Vietnam, traditional Vietnamese companies, is like an inner circle. I sometimes compare them to the emperor and the mandarins. And they have their little talks, but they never communicate with people. But Vietnamese, they love to communicate. Millions of Vietnamese on Facebook, and they chat all the time, even during work hours. So, two barriers within Vietnamese organizations. We see organizational silos. I hope you know the term. It means two departments, they don't communicate with each other. Maybe their bosses communicate, but the people don't communicate. It's like a little island. Some organizations in Vietnam are not a group, they're a group of little islands. The second one is already mentioned by, or referred to by Brian, power distance. It's easy in Vietnam to communicate down. It's very difficult. It's almost like gravity. To communicate upwards is to get something to top management. They're just impossible. I hear so many frustrated stories of Vietnamese staff trying to work out strategies to talk to top management. So these barriers, they cause a lack of engagement. By the way, team building, as I already mentioned, it's fun to do, but please see it as an incentive, not as something that creates an impact on the team work, something like that. So, silos means people are not communicating within the organization. Very Vietnamese situation. It's like an army, only the officers talk to each other, the soldiers don't talk to each other. Power distance, Brian, in Vietnam, as in Asia, we see the towering figure of the leader, and a lot of distance with, you could say, the common people. In other countries, like Australia, like my country, the Netherlands, we don't know that. The leader is just a little bit higher. But we use first names, and we can say anything to our boss, basically, which is unbelievable for many Vietnamese. But this is Asia. This is Asia. Not Vietnam, by the way, this is Malaysia.
It's still right, Malaysia,
But it's so interesting. But this is tradition, as you can see, you know, all the people. Okay, now we have to remove barriers. So we need to break down those silos, minimize the power distance, engage, empower employees. We have to invest in growth, talent, and career management. And last but not least, we have to invest in critical and innovative thinking. I have to end up very quickly now. So, what do we need to do? Leaders, please do change your attitude. Remember attitude? Towards your employees. Show interest, invite ideas, Facilitate dialogue between your staff and your management. Empower them. Accept critique. Now, critique is not criticism. Critique is an idea for improvement. Yeah, you may not like to hear it, but it is important. The person who says it, yeah, is trying to help you to build a better company. Embrace coaching and mentoring. Yeah, it works. I've been doing coaching and mentoring for the past couple of years in Vietnam, especially coaching and mentoring of senior staff, management. I'm mentoring CEOs, Vietnamese CEOs, and it's really, really rewarding. Not just for me, but for my clients, of course. And also said earlier, show appreciation, show gratitude, give positive feedback. So important. Yeah, and many young Vietnamese, they see this, look at this guy. I call him a guy. Yeah, most powerful person in the world. He's a guy. You can talk to him. Yeah, very easy to communicate. I would say, Vietnamese leaders, look at what this guy was doing in Ho Chi Minh City a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, rolled up his sleeves and he was talking to people. Yeah, and there are people who have met him, who were there that day. Yeah, they will never forget the experience. They say, wow. Yeah, one of them told me, yeah, I wish our leaders would have been here. Yeah, well, I will spare you the rest of our talk. So, if you don't adapt your organizational culture, yeah, you will find that your best people, yeah, on a bad day will tell you, I quit. Yeah, they will no longer, and they may go to one of your competitors. Yeah, so don't let that happen. Yeah, I want the best talents in Vietnam to be in Vietnam to help Vietnamese companies. So, 3 fields: human resource management, go to strategic, apply change management to your organizational culture, and address some organizational silos and minimize the power distance when we look at internal communication. So, thank you very much. I'm afraid I have no time for questions.
Okay, any
But
questions?
if you see my email address over there, you can always ask your question by email.
Okay, there is one question you can answer. Just one question.
Okay.
I'm Sean from Vietnam International Bank. I agree with you that in the corporate culture, we should come from the complacency to sense of urgency. But as a matter of fact, that's for the senior manager's point of view and the shareholder expectation. With the current situation of a normal corporation, we're facing with difficulties. How to fill the gap?
In one word, communication. Communication is the one thing. To expand a little bit more on this, sense of urgency, as you say correctly, is the opposite of complacency. Now, how do you create sense of urgency? There's one simple way to do this. Basically, what I'm showing you in this little lecture is I'm showing to you what will happen if you do nothing. What will happen when you do nothing? Think of that question. What will happen if you don't uplift your HR department? Then they will no longer be able to handle difficult situations in the future. To just name one thing. What will happen if you do not apply change management to your organizational culture? You will keep your silos. Yeah, there will no longer be. There will still be difficulties. Yeah, in your organization managing change. Yeah, what will happen if you don't improve your internal communication? Well, forget motivating your staff in the near future. They will not be there when you need them. So, sense of urgency, the guiding coalition is picking that up, has to persuade, convince staff of that sense of urgency, make that part of the vision, and keep on communicating it. Mr. Cotter says, don't communicate it once, communicate it 1,000 times. That's what he says in his book. Yeah, just what one of the previous people said, don't just say it once, you have to go on with it. Yeah, it's a duty of top management to keep on repeating why the change is necessary. The word why was used by Carolyn, very important. We are human beings, not robots. Human beings want an answer to the question why. Okay?
Right.
Thank you very much.